everybody that's joining us this evening. My name is Diego Melo at StratiVentures. We are what we call an implementation company that helps so many people in the real estate investment world learn and also have the confidence of acting in real estate. Because as we all know, real estate can take you down as many paths that it has, but every single one of them, you don't have to be an expert at every path, right? You just have to know when to take those calculated measures, what's the data you need to have, and most of all, know that you have support structure and team guiding you and walking you through every step of the process. So with that, one of the things that we always talk about is funding, right? You can never have enough money. And so one of our partners, Alex, with ISB Capital, I think, Alex, we've been funding with you guys probably for what, like almost 10 years, I think?
10, yeah, maybe even more, but yeah, 10, 12 years.
Right. So I wanted you guys to learn a little bit today about the many funding options that we have and that we work with. But we're really going to get into the nitty gritty of this is the part where we're going to learn a little bit about the new construction realm of the funding side, guys, because that is something that is very, very up and coming. Or actually, I think as we spoke, Alex, you guys are funding literally right now a ton of transactions.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a lot of volume coming out.
Excellent. We're going into the introductions right now, guys, and then I'll go into the guest intro, and then we'll start with the presentations, and then we'll have a Q&A closer to around 7:10. So we'd love for everybody to get to join us as the session goes by. Excuse me, guys. For those of you that are joining us and first time using Zoom, well, there's little buttons on the bottom of your bar in Zoom that are going to have, if you are able to talk on a mute, where we unmute you for questions, feel free to know that there's a mute button there. There's also a start and stop video function. And please, all the questions that you guys have, there's a Q&A function. And that right there, that little button, you can actually put your Q&A, your questions in there, and we'll be happy to answer those for you. If you have a chat to get in contact with the moderator, we have Oriana Valles. She's our social media manager. She'll be happy to answer those questions for you and get you all the information you need. And last but not least, like I always say, if we happen to be very boring or this isn't what you were expecting, feel free to hit the end button and hopefully we get to catch you guys another time. But most of all, this event is for you. We encourage questions. We want you to ask as many questions as possible. Obviously, out of respect to their speakers, keep them on topic, but most of all know that it's a right time to be able to get different points of feedback and most of all information. If you want to check us out, feel free to visit us at our landing page at investorrealestatetraining.com. I usually always tell people it's worth getting to know us for at least an hour. And hopefully with that hour, it turns into a lifetime. There's so much information that we can give you, so much, just get to know us, right? You have to get to know the people that you're working with, especially in this industry where so many people come and go. We've been growing. Our member base has been growing. Our team success, our member success has been growing. And I always think that it has to do for the fact that we're in such a, as I would call, cutthroat industry right now, that with that, you really need to have a certain mentality. And so that's one thing that I bring to the table at SVI is that my past background as an asset manager and mortgage broker, and then starting to invest in May of 2012, we always kept our fundamentals of investing, which is making sure that it's always a win-win transaction. And when we say it's a win-win, well, literally our motto is it's a win-win or we don't do it. It's not I don't do it, it's we don't do it. It has to be a full team win there in order for this to be, continual business amongst people. I'm always an open door. Oriana's posting all our contact information there. Feel free to call, reach via text, via phone, call, chat, whatever you'd like. We're an open book. We'd love to work with every single one of you guys. Now we're going to talk to here Alex. Alex, tell us a little bit. I've put some highlighted points here about ISB Capital and also tell us a little bit about yourself. It's always good to know where ISB came from and most of all, what direction they're taking, because you guys are just nonstop. I'll tell you that. Y'all are seriously a pillar in this business, and we're very, very fortunate to work with you guys.
Yeah, thanks, Diego. ISB started before, way before I came around, but it was probably 15 years ago, I'd say 10, 15 years ago. I mean, I think Diego, you were there right at the beginning.
Yeah.
So yeah, 10, 12 years, and actually began, tailored really to the niche of new construction. So that we've developed that product and have had that product for a decade or more. And that's really our bread and butter. That being said, the flips and the rentals, we do a lot of those too. But I think a lot of the knowledge and experience with ISB, the advantage is that new construction like sector. We have so much experience and so many contacts in there that, it's we can take a deal from the beginning to the end and help you with every single step of the process, which we'll go into later. Yeah, myself, I born and raised in Houston, went to Texas A&M, and right out of the gate was in finance, not necessarily in this niche that I'm in, but I've been in the financial sector for almost a decade. So we are, like you said, really busy. I mean, the new construction market is crazy right now. Lots of demand, and builders are actually trying to keep up with the demand.
Yes.
So great time to jump in because people are looking to buy, and we can't put out enough supply. We
Exactly.
can't keep up with it.
Exactly, guys. And Alex, obviously, I don't know if you guys ever have seen the picture floating around there. Is this guy's holding a sign? I wish I would have put it on here. He's holding a sign that says, "I'm not homeless." It's a sign that he's at a corner saying, "I'm just looking to buy houses because I don't have enough for my clients." That's what his sign said. And so in the new construction realm, we're starting to have to grow the inventory. And working with a good capital lender like ISB, who know exactly what they're doing, and most of all, having the right implementation team to support you, those are projects that get off the ground really quick, which then start to put more of a supply into the market. So Alex, welcome. Always again, a pleasure talking to you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
So key points, we're going to talk a little bit tonight about, what funding methods do you use to fund your deals? Are you using your own capital? Struggling finding deals or finding capital? And then 3 methods of funding your loans, which we're going to go in through 3 options that we use at StratiVentures. And we've been using them for years. And what that's done, it's caused such an influx of private capital. And what that private capital means that we have the ability to fund fast. Now, why do we fund with private capital? Well, obviously, there's certain points that your hard money lenders want to see for reserve money. They want to see for debt servicing, and then they also want to see the ability that you've done deals, right? So learning how to procure private capital and knowing exactly how to do it, but having a systematic way, that's everything you're going to find at SVI. So guys, the girls ask me always to ask if you're a private money lender and you're wanting to learn how to use private capital at a local and national level, we'd love to hear from you. I know some of our PMLs are on board right now. I can see them that are joining us. One of our newest members there, Sujan, welcome, sir. And we look forward to developing a strong relationship with you guys. And then obviously we're going to go into the new construction funding side so you guys can learn a little bit about that. So let's talk about here the first one. Excuse me. One of the things we'd say is full private money funding. What exactly is full private money funding? If you're an SVI member, you've seen this through the curriculum, you've seen it through the project development, you've seen it through the general reviews. But what this is understanding that a private money lender is going to fund all cost of the project. By them funding all costs of the project means that you have to have a certain structure. And that certain structure means, are you guys going to go into a profit sharing type of partnership? Or are you going to go into a agreement as a lender? A lot of people that have IRAs, a lot of people that have that restricted type of capital, a lot of times you're ineligible to go into profit shares, to go into that kind of partnership. So they become lenders. And that way they're keeping themselves completely separated from the actual transaction and proceeds, where all the money and the proceeds and the interest come back to that IRA vehicle. So you have to know and understand, first and foremost, I have somebody that's willing to give me all the money. Is how am I structuring this? it's a profit sharing or under a lender which has an annualized rate. I'll explain a little bit more on this side here, what the advantages and disadvantages are, but every single real estate transaction is going to fall under either of those two categories. 5 security instruments. These are security instruments that any person that's a private money lender should be asking for these, or should have this whole, or should have this type of position or these requirements. Obviously, deeds of trust, first lien positions, promissory notes, lien waivers, loss pay on insurance. Alex, when you guys act as a lending component, you guys are requiring security instruments, right?
Yes, we're going to need everything that you have listed there. We also are going to be first position.
Mm-hmm.
So when we land on something, we're going to take first position. Obviously, deed of trust, lien waivers clear. So yeah, everything there, essentially, we would require to lend on a deal.
Exactly. So your bank, your lender, your regulated lenders are asking for these requirements.
Mm-hmm.
Private money lenders should be requiring them also too, right? And that is strength. You know, that's letting them know you're organized, and obviously you have the ability and the knowledge to be a good private money lender. Benefits, guys, for borrowing private capital when the PML is acting as the full funding person is you're not going to have monthly payments if you guys go into profit sharing, or you're also going to have daily costs to the project, which are your utilities, any of your insurances, or any of those general costs that are come associated with having a project. The other important thing here, draws for contractors are quick. The reimbursal process, in which Alex is going to talk to you guys about all of that, especially in the new construction side, is that your contractors need to have capital to work. So if you're a new investor and you're looking to get out into the investment world and you need capital and you don't have it, well, your bank's going to require for you to have that readily available capital, but your PMLs are not. So that's just kind of a good way to have a stepping stone by working with PMLs to be able to have that ability. Normally, when we're dealing with something under a general partnership, guys, we're always going to say that there is a special purpose LLC that's created to house the asset. That special purpose LLC is going to be with yourself. Hopefully, you have an entity in order to practice that, and your private money lender is going to be able to be a part of that. You have joint venture agreements or operating agreements, which are governed by probably a lot of legalese and protection sections, but your 3 main components are always going to be your contributions, your distributions, and your timelines, which are the things you have to have already in agreement with your PML. Is what are the contributions, right? Who's contributing what? It could be the sweat equity side, it could be the money side. Both carry the same weight. We're big advocates at SVI that without the money, there's no deal, and without the deal, there's no money. And also last over here, distributions is what kind of distributions are we talking about? If you're both sharing the risk, but one person is carrying all the security instruments, you should be really thinking about a 50-50 profit share, because at the end of the day, the security instruments are weighing the favorable party, which is the private money lender. But why is a person becoming a lender? Because they don't want to become an active technician, or they don't want to play that role. So it's a give and take. So we recommend always, your 50-50 share or profit splits, but also knowing what roles and duties, and all of that obviously gets identified in the operating agreements. And timelines, your timelines can range anywhere on your rehabs from 0 to 6 months. After 6 months, you have extension periods. You got to start talking about extensions and costs. And most of all, things that are called your term clauses, which are what happens after the 6 months. Do we get to extend? Do we get to liquidate? Those are all the things that as private money lenders, you need to train yourself to know when you're lending your money. And if you're borrowing, you also need to know exactly, both you guys are speaking the same language. Those are things that we 100% work with all our members at SVI. So here to give you a description of number, and most of all say what's the difference and where the benefits are. Let's say hypothetically your private money lent you $100,000 at a 12% rate under an annualized basis. That's $12,000 annual. That means every month you'd be paying them $1,000. So that's money coming out of your pocket. I believe that a lot of people that get involved in real estate investing have a certain limitation of capital, of operating capital. So if you have $1,000 a month liability and 3 deals come to you because they're so scarce now, that means you want to jump on all 3 at the same time. You have to have $3,000 worth of monthly payments. You might be biting off more than you can chew, guys. And that happens to a lot of people. People like stretching themselves too thin. And that's, Alex, that's one of the things about your company that I love at the beginning, working with Tom and working with Belinda, is that when we got excited, you guys would pull the emergency brake on us. Because most lenders would say, let's put it on the ground. They were saying, hold on, let's get to the next step. So ISB, guys, is phenomenal with that. 6-month terms of paying interest, that's $6,000. That is a 6%, rate of return. And then however many times you do that in a year, it's going to give them their full annualized rate. Same timeline, same money, but your profit sharing. The profit was $25,000 at a 50-50 split. That's 12.5 to the PML. That's a 12.5 rate of return in the same amount of time. You want to look at this in 2 ways. One, it's a great return in 6 months. But 2, if you had a PML that's okay with 6 months and you're looking at returns at 12.5, guys, you have 6% wiggle room. Things happen from the beginning, in the middle, and at the end of your project. So you got to start thinking about the wiggle room. Those are amazing things. Let's see. No need to profit share when paying 12% risk. 12% risk is reflected in the rate. Well, it's also based on the growth and how many deals you actually want to partake on. Third-party funding. Obviously, when you're talking about 100% capital from a PML, then not everybody has the whole, purchase and funding cost of option number 1, right? Which is the full private money. So that's why hard money lenders and capital lenders like ISB exist, is because you're going to go to them to leverage capital. Alex, you've probably heard from a lot of people that hard money lenders kind of get a bad rap, right?
Yes, I think the term hard money has a bad rap in general.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And why do you think most people think that from the beginning?
Well, I think that it's probably all centered around there's some lenders that have done business the wrong way, and people, especially in this industry, talk. And so I think that there were some people, maybe at least initially when the industry started, they were calling themselves hard money and they were doing things that they shouldn't have and lending to people that maybe they shouldn't have been lending to. And just down the road now, hard money has a negative connotation to it.
Right.
I
would also say that 85% of the people that get involved in real estate investing for the first time, coming from conventional pricing, coming from those type of lower rates, they sit with you and they see a 12% with 3 points for 6 months. They hate you already. Right?
Yeah.
And so that's the biggest misconception, guys. Your hard money lender, when used correctly and leveraged correctly, and you start to apply a velocity of capital mindset, they want you to pay this thing off faster. Because every single time they lend you money, they're making more money because they're continually lending you money. So they become your best friend. The more I can use a hard money lender, the better, guys. Your hard money lender generally is always going to lend within a certain percentage, which is your loan to value from an appraisal. You guys are always going to need to get an appraisal. In some cases, at first starters, will probably lend you 90% of the amount that they can lend you because they're going to want you to have some type of skin in the game. So usually those responsibilities are called your debt service. Things such as down payments if required, points, which is I would have to say the meat and potatoes in order for them to run their business, right? Because they have overheads. They have to have underwriters, processes, operations. I mean, it's all encompassed. Also, they're going to need to see some type of monthly reserves. And also, guess what? Your private money lenders can present those. Your private money lenders can play so many roles, but they also can help you acquire so many approvals. That's why it's important to build good relationships with them. And most of all, with your PML, you're going to structure a deal according to the best outcome for both parties. That's why those of you that are SVI members and SVI PMLs, you know exactly what I'm talking about here, guys. It becomes a win-win for both parties. Joint ventures are common with PMLs acting as debt service capital partners, and property does not need to be held in an LLC unless both parties are applicants to the request of that hard money lender. And then profit shares are always something that we recommend considering in these transactions. So you're only going to be bringing a fraction of the price, a fraction of the transaction. This one here, it says Diego's favorite option. This is 100% my favorite option, guys. Acquisition only private lending. You have your PML act as a lender that's going to give you the capital for the what we call the unrenovated property or the ugly house or the future beauty queen, right? And you want them to acquire that property, and you're giving them all the sole security of all the instruments, but you're also bringing skin in the game. Guys, that is giving them such a secure position, your private money lender. And also it's okay to offer them flat rates of return, because now you've removed one moving target from your from your numbers. Your only cost left to understand is what is the amount of money that you're putting in your renovation to the amount of money you're pulling out from the sale of the property. It really is going to give you great amounts of return, because now you're reducing all the moving objects. And those of you guys that would want to know more about this, we do have our analyzers that we're more than happy to show you those analyzers as we move in our one-on-ones. Feel free to go to investorrealestatetraining.com, and we'd be happy to present those and show you how those things work. So now here, Alex, here's your contact information. Did you have anything that you wanted to share?
No, so that's my direct cell. Y'all can call, text anytime if you have any questions, and yeah, that's my email as well. And so definitely anything I can help you with or answer, feel free to reach out.
Yeah. Yep. So tell us a little bit about new construction.
So like Diego said, new construction, especially in the last year, I would say, and then accelerated in the past 6 months, even more, is a space where I see there's a ton of activity. Like we said, there's an excess and demand because there's just a lot of people moving to Texas right now. Mm-hmm. And they're going to the big metro areas, and despite the pricing of materials that we kind of dealt with, that's coming down now. We talked about that earlier, Diego, but people are building because there's a demand. And so I think it's a good time to get into the space. I see a lot of flippers that I've done a lot of deals with that are seasoned people that have been flipping for years that are saying, well, now looking at the numbers, it makes more sense to just build ground up a lot of times, because there's not like you said, there's a lot of times it's hard to find a flip deal with enough spread in it. So they're moving into new construction. Where we come into play, I always like to say that we come into it as your partner in the deal, right? If you succeed and if we get it done as quickly as we can, that's best case scenario for me too. So like Diego says, win-win, like that's my game too. And it's not a complicated process, but there are a lot of steps that I'm about to go through that you need to have in mind, because timing is everything, and sometimes things can start to move slow, especially if you're not prepared for it. So just to go through the process from start to finish, initially, obviously, you're going to applying for new construction isn't going to vary. I'm approving you as an individual. You can print through your LLC. Everything's the same as if you were getting a pre-approval for a flip or a rental. So let's say you apply, submit all the required financial docs, bank statements, we'll do a credit check, income verification, all of that. So you have a pre-approval. The next step, usually you're going to start to search for a lot if you haven't already. The lot, finding a lot is one of those things where you want to get a good deal on a lot, but you don't want to just jump on the cheapest lot that you find. There's a couple reasons for that. The main one is, while the savings may look good up front, really what you need to think about is what your profit is going to be on the back end. And that's where myself and my whole back office that has a lot more experience than me can help, because you can tell me, communicate, say, hey, I'm looking at this lot. This is where it is. What do you think? And, I can get a bunch of eyes on it, and we can tell you, well, we think it's a good idea. Like, we're comfortable lending in the area. Sure, like, let's move forward. Or, we come back and say, oh, we don't think we're comfortable lending in this area. And if you hear that, whether it's from me or any other lender, that should be like the biggest red flag that you could ever see, because we want to lend you the money. So if we're saying that we don't want to do it, for whatever reason, there's a bunch of them probably, but we don't think that it's worth the risk of us putting our money there, because we don't think that that property in that area at least is going to move. And we want it to move. We want you to get out of it. So I would say, there's my cell. Like, if you're looking for something, feel free to reach out. I'll tell you what I think. There's a whole team behind me. But yeah, that lot, the location of the lot, the comps, that's big. But definitely don't settle just because of the price, right?
And Alex, I mean, the amount of times I remember with Belinda, I think she got really tired of us at one point. She's like, guys, stop buying the lots, first figure out the information. Because we would come and say, oh my God, we just bought 10 lots and they were only like 10,000 a piece. And we found out that the builders were buying them at 10,000 a piece. Why couldn't we, why are we making the mistake? It's because we weren't the builders. We quickly learned that lesson. So now I literally put myself in Belinda's shoes with a lot of the people we work with. When they go, I found this lot, and my first question always is, please tell me you didn't buy it.
No, so don't buy it. Speed is important, but also we don't want to execute on anything that isn't going to be a good deal.
Correct.
So that's really important. And again, we can help you. Diego can help you. Like, just reach out if you're looking into to buying a lot, and we can give you what our opinion is. So all that being said, we're looking for a lot. Let's say you find one. Okay, so you're purchasing a lot. There's quite a few factors to keep in mind, because they take a long time. One is, first, we want to make sure it's platted. There's not going to need to be a replat. We want to make sure you're going to be able to put the structure that you're thinking of on that lot. And also, you want to check deed restrictions, and also get the permitting process started. Attached to that is going to be, well, you're going to have to get an architect, and you're going to have to get drawings, and you're going to have to decide what it is you want to build. These are all things that, in my opinion at least, should be happening simultaneously, or at least as close to it as you can, because your permitting is going to take, what's it taking, Diego, now? 5 months?
You could say that. We got the ones we have right now are coming out at 3.5 months, but there's always going to be comments from the city. And so when you kick those back in there, it's going to probably pull about another month and a half, because they're so backed up. And I know people will say, oh, I've had my deal ran in 2 months, 3 months. Everything's completely different.
It's second. I think we have 9 right now, Diego?
We got 9 right now coming out of permitting to go to you guys.
And that's about the time, 4 months, give or take. I think we've been waiting, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And these are borrowers that are SBI members approved, pre-approved, the plans look good. We have plans and everything, but it's, you know, been at a standstill for 4 months or so because we're waiting on permits to get back. So keep all of that in mind when you're approaching this. Is we want to get all of these things that are going to take time because we're waiting on the city. We want to get that in and get the ball rolling on that as quickly as possible. Attached to that too is, of course, your bid and your finish outs and everything like that, because we're going to put together a budget for you based on the plans and your specs and your finishes. We're going to tell you, you know, if you should maybe not finish something out as nice as you want to, because the comps in the area don't require it, and you don't need to put too much money in, or, you know, you're not spending enough. That's another way we can kind of walk you through the process is we have experience, and, you know, you might not need to put as much into a build if it's in an area where the comps don't hold up with the type of finishes.
And Alex, just to touch base on what you're just saying there. So a lot of people will want to get involved in new construction and say, well, a builder's not going to talk to me. A builder's not going to give me the budgets. It's not going to give me something called a takeoff, right? Because what most people do is show some drawings and a comp and say, can you make this look like this? And then the builder gives them a number, right? That isn't sufficient for you guys, right? You guys have to have somewhat of not a full detail, but something with enough substance that you guys can get a good picture of what's needed, right? Am I correct to say that?
Correct. So we don't necessarily need like permitted plans initially, but we're going to want drawings, elevations, measurements, and then when you're getting a bid from a builder, we want it to be line item costing, right? We want to know how much we're putting into, you know, the granite. We want to know how much we're putting into every single aspect of the build, because these things cost money, and if you aren't exact, things can get away from you really easily. So yeah, we stay pretty detailed. We have templates of everything as well, draw schedules, everything like that, to where we can tell you how things are gonna or should look, and we'll tell you if they don't look good. And then that's when, you know, you need to find, again, a good builder, which, you know, if someone needs a referral to a builder, I'm sure Diego and I have some people that we could refer you to. So that's important as well. But yeah, be as detailed as you can, because all of these things add up, and they do matter.
Yeah. I can tell you guys, if you are looking for a builder, if they've gone through Belinda O'Daniel, they're a good builder.
Yeah. Most of the time, you know, I hear no from Belinda.
Yep.
But everyone should be reassured by that.
Yes.
Because if we say yes, then it's pretty much a shoo-in most of the time. We're not gonna go and approve anybody or any builder, you know, that comes in. I mean, the first question that is asked is, what's your experience and can we see it? So, you know, it's definitely, we have builders, and that's really important, because, hey, that's for the time that the build is going on, that's your project is in their hands, really. So yeah, that's an important decision as well.
Yep.
Yeah. And so going through all of that, let's say we've started, and tell me if you want me to go into a little more detail, Diego.
No, go ahead.
But let's say we go through and we've submitted for permitting. We have the permitting going, and we have a bid and everything like that. We have our drawings. We're comfortable with a lot. I'll go really quickly through the acquisition of the lot, because it is something that I can help you with as well. There's two avenues you can go down. One is I can help you acquire the lot. If that happens, I'm going to ask for a 10% equity payment down at closing. That is 10% of the lot and the construction costs. So essentially your total loan amount, whatever that's going to be, I'll ask for 10% down. That is, I like to call that like a true equity payment, because we really do put that into the deal. So your total loan amount is going to be less 10%, whatever that dollar amount is you put in. That's a great option for people that, one, like Diego was saying, maybe don't have all of the capital liquid, but two, if you're trying to get your hands into multiple deals, it's a great option to kind of keep some of that cash liquid, and I can help you get into 2-3 deals at one time. The other option is you go and you purchase a lot cash, assuming that it's a good lot. When we say really think it's a good lot, you can go purchase it cash, and you can use that as leverage at closing. So it'll limit your cash to close. You bring the lot, and essentially all you bring to closing is your points and all of the fees that are associated with that. So I find that it varies from person to person which option is going to work best. That's something we can talk about. To me, it doesn't, I have no preference either way. So it's just what option is going to help you be successful. From there, we get into, like I said, purchase the lot, permitting is rolling, everything like that. We're going to get an appraisal. We order an appraisal based on plans. We don't need the final permitted plans, but we need some drawings, like I said, with measurements, elevations. We get an appraisal based on that and that line item bid from your builder that we were talking about. And then obviously comps in the area of the lot. Whatever number my appraiser comes back with, I can lend 75% of that number. Talking about appraisals, first off, appraisal is another thing that's taken a long time these days.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind too. All of these things we need to be prepared for, because they take time. And I mean, I don't know, Diego, I think appraisals for me are taking a couple weeks sometimes, maybe more. And that's me saying, hey, hurry up.
And that's you guys saying, we can go to another appraisal company.
Yeah, exactly. So it's easy, 7 to 10 days, sometimes more with appraisers now too. So that's another thing to keep in mind. That takes time in this process. But yeah, I can lend 75% of that. We call it the as-built value. So that's our determination and our appraiser's determination of what the value of the structure is going to be once completed.
Right.
Most of the time, that 75% is going to cover a large percentage of your construction costs, if not all of them. I don't like to throw 100% around ever, but it's going to be able to cover most of your construction costs, if not all of them, assuming that you have a good bid and he's not overcharging you and everything like that. I've found that 75% as built can cover a lot of the costs. So moving forward from that, your draws, how the draws are going to work, they're going to work as a reimbursement. So also keep that in mind with your working capital, because one, you're going to have to pay up front. You're going to call me and say, this is done. I'll send an inspector out to verify work's completed, and then we'll wire you the money. That process, my inspector has 48 hours to get out there. He's pretty good about getting out there within a day. And then also once he verifies, depending on your bank and the day, I mean, it could be 24 hours, 48 hours. Keep that in mind, because if you ask for a draw on a Friday and he doesn't get out there, you're going to wait the weekend, and 3 or 4 days mean a lot in these projects. So try to be strategic there. And also keep in mind, construction is front end heavy. So you're going to want, your foundation and your framing is going to account for 50% or more of your budget, right around there. So you're going to be out of pocket a lot of money on the front end, and we'll work with you to make sure we're comfortable that you have enough. But you are going to have to have some good working capital, because that slab and that framing is going to be the priciest part of your project.
And I was going to say, just to add on to that is,
Yeah.
It's also going to depend on the builder that you have, right? What are their capacity of funding things kind of ahead of time as you start building that relationship with them, so you don't run too thin, because a lot of times that's where you see these projects go framed, slab, and then it stops. It's because they got to go get more money, or
Yeah.
or something happens. So it's about what type of builder you're working with too.
Yeah, right. And that is what we try and avoid, because you hang up for 2-3 days here, and then 2-3 days here, and 2-3 days here, and then turns out the build's taking a month or two longer than we thought. That's more money. That's more time that my money is out. But two, that's more. I mean, your interest payments, like Diego was saying, they're not cheap. Like you don't want to have to pay another 2-3 months of interest payments. Avoid that at all costs. So it's really like we need to be strategic about the work being done, you taking your draws, and you getting reimbursed, and making sure you have enough money to pay the guys.
But it's also, guys, it's a benefit if you think about this. This is one of the reasons why I love new construction, is that you may have a $100,000 building allowance sitting in escrow. You're not being charged interest on that until you use it. On a rehab, that 100,000 that's sitting there, you're instantly getting charged interest on the money that's being used there.
Correct. Yeah. So everything in escrow, you're not paying interest on. It's only
huge.
Once you've drawn, which your interest payments kind of go like this. But also, I always tell people, well, let's look with people, like you were talking about, that maybe they haven't done this before and they see that 10-12% interest rate, and I'm like, I know it's a big number, but hold on. And if you actually look at your interest payments over the course of a project, because you're paying one interest only payments, you're not paying anything towards principal, anything like that. You're paying only on the money that you've used. So everything in escrow, you're not paying on. When you draw the 20K, 20-something K for your slab, that's the money that you're paying on. But those interest payments they start pretty low. Once you get and draw most of the money, that they start to get high. But at that point, we're approaching the finish of the project. That's why it's important that it goes to plan 2, so we can stay on track. And then, perfect world, we list it and we sell it the next day, right?
Right. And one recommendation, guys, since we've been doing this for so long, is we treat the allowance and every payment as if we were doing 100% interest payments from that month. So if it's 100,000 and we're going to say we're paying 12%, $1,000 a month, we're allocating $12,000 in interest. But at the end of the day, because it's being, the more you use, the more you pay. Our first monthly payment was $450.
Yeah.
So at least we know we have that rainy day fund, because guess what? It will happen.
Yeah. There's always something. That's why we got to make sure that we're on top of everything, so it doesn't hurt us as bad when it does happen, because these projects, they do get hung up. I don't know. I'm trying to think, Diego, if there's anything else you kind of want me to touch on.
One thing, guys, that I think is very important to think about in new construction is what you're basically doing is you're forecasting value. So they're looking at what is the value of the as is right now with the bids and the plans, and they may give you $200,000. From that point, when you start to hit probably 50% of the project completed, 2 months have gone by, 3 months have gone by. Your market is going to rise, because usually ISB loves to lend in areas where there's appreciation happening, guys, because they're building wiggle room for you. And that's how we train every single one of our members, is that we want you to think about forecasting where that risk is. And so at the end of the day, when you're 9 months into this build, you may have gone from $200,000 to 215, 225. Bring on the risk because your numbers are set at 200. And so ISB sees that and they consider that when you're not being a pioneer. I think, Alex, one of the times when we approached Belinda for the first time, and Tom Kinney actually was in one of the meetings, and he looked at me, I was like, oh man, this is the guy with the money. And he gave me this look of, don't be a pioneer. Don't go set your own comps. You know, it's go where the data is. And I really think you guys, by having a good lending partner and controlling the building aspect, you guys have been a very good integral part of our success. And we really thank you guys for that.
Yeah, no, thank you, Diego. Yeah, and it's true. So like going back to when I say, you know, ask us about the lot, ask us, you know, up front, and we say no a lot. If we say no, it's because the data isn't supporting the area that you're trying to go into as having value and appreciating.
Yep.
If you ask and we say yes and you don't hear any argument at all, great job, because you found a lot in a great area, and we think that
you learned.
And it's a good move. So again, that's where I'm kind of always like, look, we're partnering not just with the money, but like we're gonna share our knowledge and what we think, because it's not just you paying us, like we're putting our funds there too. So we want it to be advantageous and be in a good area. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Alex, let's open this up to some questions, guys. Remember, you have in the Q&A of your Zoom, feel free to ask some questions. We're going to start answering these guys as best as possible. And thank you, Alex, again for your time. Excuse me, guys. Sorry for my voice. Herman asked here, would you do new construction in Conroe or Montgomery County today?
Yes. You know, we have, it depends on where, but like we have things going on around Lake Conroe and in Montgomery County. So yes, we don't like to go too rural, but yes, we are open to it, and we could definitely have a conversation. Yeah. Absolutely.
Excuse me. David Rubio asked, hey, Alex, are you lending 75% of the final appraised value or 75% of the builder's bid?
Final appraised value.
Yep.
So that is what I call the as-built value. So we're going to take into account your builder's bid, and then comps where the lot is and where the market is going. So yeah, 75% of the final appraised value.
And David sent me a private message earlier. He goes, ask me how long I've been in permitting. He's at 5 to 6 months. So David, we can sympathize with him.
Yeah, I understand, man. I understand.
Yeah. So feel free, guys, to ask more questions. This is all about you wanting to get some answers. Bliss, one of our members in San Antonio, said, preferred finished houses sales price range or percentage profit range? I guess I'm a little
I don't, are you asking? I'm not sure what they're asking, Diego.
Right. Preferred finished house sales price range, is that to consider that, or is it the percentage of profit range?
Are you asking if I have a preferred finished house sales price range?
Right. Is there a certain, what I can get is it, are you looking that the your borrowers have a certain amount of money being made, or is there a price point that they go in?
No, so it's all gonna, we're not gonna touch profit. We're lending you the money and collecting interest. Your profit, the finished sales, the sales price at the end, it doesn't matter. It's just gonna be basically, if we're comfortable lending, and if we are, we're gonna lend you 75% of whatever our appraiser says the final value is gonna be. Yes.
Okay. And then one question here says, do you work with modular or manufactured homes?
I do not, unfortunately. I have a few contacts that do if you need a referral, but I can't do that through ISB.
Okay. All right, guys, feel free to ask more questions here. Alex, I do think that one of the, hold on a second. I think we've got another question here. No, right there. Okay, let me ask you this question. When looking for a builder,
Mhm.
you have your builders that are out there building 5 to 10 properties a year. And then you have builders out there that are building the 40 to 50 properties per year. Both of them are going to have separate contracts, right? Do you guys review also the contract between the builder and the consumer?
So we'll review the contract but the reason that we do that is we want to know how much of your capital you're going to be giving to the builder separate from us, right? We're not, whatever fee the builder is giving you, we want to review it. And the other thing is, we're going to review that contract. If we see something that's a red flag, we're going to tell you. That's another way we're gonna help you. But yeah, we will review that. We're gonna review entity docs from the builder. We're gonna review everything. So yeah, we will review all of that, and also just speaking to that, a builder that's doing 40 to 50 a year. One question we're gonna have is he stretched? Is he spread too thin?
That's where I was going, because that is, if not one of the biggest killers of your projects, guys, is when your builder stretches themselves too thin, they're going to be taking money and putting it all into one particular, what I call operating fund. And next thing you know, they started to short your project, and vice versa. And then ISB will step in and find out literally when that happens. So
Yeah.
you got to be very careful with those types of builders.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's see here. Rogelio asked, I am new to this, so a little slow in keeping up. Could you please concisely summarize the 3 funding options? Rogelio, I'd be happy to. The 3 funding options that we were talking about is 3 different ways for any purchase and renovation to be funded by private capital. That was option number 1, which is getting all the money from one person and how to structure that. The second option was to use a company like Alex in order for them to leverage the largest portion of the transaction, which is anywhere between 100 to 90% of the project cost, but then you're using private capital to fund your debt servicing, which are your down payments, requirements, points, interest. It's kind of having that reserve funds there for the operating. And then the last one is the acquisition private lending only, is where your private lender's only buying the asset, the ugly house, right? The future beauty queen. Because that's going to put them always in the best security position, because you're bringing skin in the game. And Rogelio, I invite you to go to our landing page at investorrealestatetraining.com. I would love to show you the deal analyzer, and you'll see it more when the numbers really fly off that spreadsheet, so you can take a look. That's a great question. Thank you for asking that, sir. All right, guys, anybody else that wants to go ahead and ask some questions, we're happy to answer them. Let's see here. Oops, I think we got another one. What are your thoughts to the Houston market and duplexes?
I mean, the duplexes are, this too, there's a ton of duplexes going up.
Yeah.
I mean, if you go into certain key areas, I mean, the value is there because people, there's 2 routes you can go, but investors that want rental properties love duplexes. And if you go and build a duplex and essentially you just want to be on the front end and fund the build and then sell it, I mean, the duplexes are going like crazy. More people are renting these days as well. I mean, I'm a big fan of duplexes. I think you can keep the cost controlled, and then you're able to pitch to the end buyer. You have 2 properties essentially that you can you can get your rental income from. If you put a duplex in the right area, I think it's a really, really great investment.
And the reason why I asked that question is, one of the areas in which we're putting up some duplexes, Sunnyside is, I mean, we're seeing $285,000, $300,000 comps on duplexes. Wow.
Dude, Sunnyside is, and we're doing a few deals in Sunnyside.
We're doing a few there in Sunnyside.
But I've seen lot prices in Sunnyside from even just a year ago to now. I mean, I don't know if they've doubled, but they've gotten, like they're almost doubled, if not past it. So Sunnyside I don't think it's too late to get into Sunnyside. I think it's still a good time to get into Sunnyside, because that's something we look at and say it's great, because it's just going like this.
And for those of you that are joining us from other cities and nationally, if I were to say, where is Sunnyside? You look at your average city, and your average city, if you really see how it's been planned out, always the southeast area of a city tends to have more of an industrial gentrification, certain neighborhoods that have not yet received the opportunity that it needs. Those are ideal for duplexes. Land is rising, rental prices are rising. San Antonio right now, we're buying a couple lots there, and they're all obviously they tend to be in the southeastern part of the city. And duplexes is a great way to mitigate that risk instead of just putting one person in there. And obviously, for those of you guys that want to know some more information about our co-housing model, that's one of the main ones with ISB.
It's really cool.
Yeah, we're taking a single house and subdividing that into multiple rooms with private baths and renting those out per week, because there's an affordable housing shortage, and we have lenders and partners already established for this. So if you wanted to know more information about that, feel free to send Oriana, if you can go ahead and put some more of that, put our contact information again for people to get to know us. Feel free to reach out. And with that, a gentleman here, Mr. Burke, said, how is the constant increase in lumber prices affecting current loans with current lending practices?
So, well, one, I think you sent me an article earlier, actually, Diego, about the lumber prices and how they've kind of come down a bit recently, right?
Yeah.
They're kind of stabilizing a bit. So that is positive. As far as how it's going to affect my loans and my lending practices, it's not. What it's going to affect is your budget, and that's something that we need to obviously consider up front before we start anything. But it's not going to affect my loan at all. It's just going to affect your bid's just going to be higher, from your builder, because lumber is higher. That being said, again, lumber is coming down, and also I have not seen, while the lumber prices have increased builders' budgets, I haven't seen it affect their profits in a way where they're stopping to build.
Correct.
So it's definitely something to keep an eye on, but I don't think it's something that should deter anyone, because I see it firsthand every day. These things are happening, and we're just rolling with it. And yeah, it's coming down now. So positive.
Yep, there you go. Derek just found the article through Bloomberg that we were looking at earlier today. Of
course, Derek found it.
Yeah, of course he did. Herman Walker asked, do you fund fix and flips outside of Texas, for example, Florida?
I cannot fund that through ISB, no, but we do have a partner company that I could maybe help you out with.
Okay, excellent. And then one last question, guys, and I thank y'all so much for sticking with us here, is what do you think about building in Dallas, San Antonio, and Austin? Which city or areas are preferred? Let's say out of those three, where would you as a lender say, hey, this is where we need to be?
I think that South Dallas is there's a ton of activity in South Dallas. I guess we're not including Houston in that question. So I would say, you know, San Antonio. The problem with Austin is it's a bit pricey.
It's gotten cost prohibitive. I mean, I'm telling you, it's
so that's a bigger project. San Antonio is great, is growing. I like San Antonio, but if I was going to pick one, I would say Dallas. I mean, if you can get in South Dallas, it's kind of like Diego was talking about, that southeast area of the cities. Ennis, which is like 30, 45 minutes outside of Dallas, South Dallas, all of those areas. I would say Dallas is pretty hot.
Yeah. What heck, you guys are putting one up for us at in Fort Worth.
Yeah.
So that's
that one in Fort Worth. We just started a big one in Ennis, Texas, which is like 30 minutes south of Dallas, because you know, there's like Amazon and someone else is putting some big facilities out there. So we see a big movement into that area. So we're throwing up some houses in Ennis, Texas too. And yeah, I mean, if you're trying to be strategic, Dallas I think is a good spot.
Awesome. Alex, so you can see here in the share, this is Alex's information. Feel free to reach out to him. All you guys that are SVI members, you know where to find him in the member directory. I saw some potential future SVI members that are met with us, and I want to welcome you guys to the family. Alex's example there, one of the type of vendors we work with, that they're there not just to do business with you, but they want you to grow. And that's one of the coolest things I think about the people that we work with. So Alex, they're okay to give you a ring, text, call?
Yeah, call, text, email. I'm here. Yeah.
Awesome.
I will respond when I can. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. So everybody, if you want a copy of the presentation, you can find it and like us on social media, or just grab your phone and click on the QR code, or visit us at investorrealestatetraining.com. We are constantly putting on these webinars every other Monday. And so again, Alex, as normal, awesome. And man, get ready. We're doing our next national webinar with Anderson in July. So we're about to put some more through you.
Hey, perfect. We're ready. We're ready, man. You know that we are. We just we've been playing the waiting game. You know, with everything. But yeah, we're ready to go.
I think I lost you there.
Oh, did you? Can you hear me? Oh, I think you froze, Diego.
Are you back? There you go.
Yeah, I'm back.
Awesome. All right, buddy.
Yeah, well, thanks, man.
You're very welcome. So everybody, thank you for joining us this evening. As usual, as I always like to say, if it's not for our family, why the heck are we doing this? So we'll see you guys next time.
Thanks.